Have you ever been asked, straight out, have you ever been in love, and felt something drop a little inside you before you even answered? Maybe you said no and laughed it off. Maybe you said it's complicated. Maybe you changed the subject fast, because the real answer is no. Not once. Not really. And you were never quite sure what that said about you. Everyone around you seems to have a story, a first heartbreak, a name they still don't say out loud. And you have this quiet room in you where that story is supposed to live. You've just never opened the door. Here's what nobody tells you about that room. People will call it a red flag. They'll say something's missing in you, that you're cold, that you're scared, that you're too picky for your own good. I want to offer you a completely different reading tonight. Never having been in love is almost never a defect. It's usually two much quieter things, sitting side by side. A system that learned early to keep you safe, and a standard you were never willing to fake your way past. Let's look at both. Start with the feeling itself. Not the theory, the feeling. It's a wedding or a dinner, and the conversation turns to how everyone met. And you're doing the thing you always do, nodding, smiling, keeping your own history vague. You're not lying, exactly. You're just very aware that your history is a blank page, and you'd rather not hand it around the table. And it's not that you never tried. Maybe you made the profile. Maybe you let a friend set you up, sat across from someone perfectly nice, and spent the whole evening watching yourself from the outside, waiting to feel the thing you were promised you'd feel. It didn't come. You went home almost relieved, and then a little confused about the relief. Later you're alone, and the question comes back. Softer this time. Is it me? Did I miss some window that everyone else walked through years ago? Is there a version of this I was supposed to learn, and somehow just didn't? You felt that, right? And the strange part is, you're not even sure you're sad about it. Some days it barely registers at all. Other days it feels like standing outside a house at night, watching warm light in the windows, not quite able to explain why you never went in. Hold on to that house. It's going to matter later. Now here's the first thing people get completely wrong about you. They think you haven't loved because nobody good enough came along, like you're sitting around waiting for perfect. But that's not it, is it? The truth is closer to this. You've had chances. You've had people who were kind, available, genuinely interested. And you felt something. Warmth, comfort, maybe even the outline of what could have grown into love if you'd pushed it. But you didn't feel the thing. And you refused to call warmth by love's name just to have a story to tell at dinner. That's not pickiness. That's accuracy. Because most people can talk themselves into they feel a small flicker and decide it's a fire. Because the calendar says it's time. Because everyone's paired off. Because being alone started to feel heavy. And you just can't do that. Some part of you will not manufacture a signal that isn't actually there. You would honestly rather keep the blank page than fill it with something you had to fake. And maybe that has cost you a few things. But let's be clear. It is not nothing. It's a kind of honesty most people never manage to have with themselves, not even once. But standards alone don't keep a door shut for years. Something else is holding it. And this is where it gets more interesting. Long before you ever had standards, you had a nervous system, and that system spent your earliest years quietly learning one thing. What happens when I reach for someone? Attachment researchers, going all the way back to John Bowlby and Mary Ainsworth, found that every one of us builds a working model of closeness in childhood. If reaching out mostly got met, you learn that closeness is safe. But if reaching out often got you distance instead, or inconsistency, or a caregiver who was there in body but somewhere else in feeling, then you learn something very different. You learn that needing people is a risk, so you learn to turn the need down, and it doesn't take anything dramatic. You don't need a broken home or a big painful story for this. Maybe love in your house was real, but quiet, earned, a little conditional. Maybe affection arrived with strings attached, or only after you'd behaved well, or came and went with a mood you could never quite predict. A small child can't say any of this out loud. But a small child feels it, and files it away as a rule. Love is not free. Love is not safe to want too loudly. Better to want a little less, and never be caught reaching. Psychologists call this an avoidant pattern, and the mechanism underneath it even has a name. Deactivating strategies. Researchers like Mikulincer and Shaver describe how an avoidance system, the second it feels that pull toward real closeness, quietly switches it off before it can fully turn on. Not because you don't want love, but because wanting it, at full volume, once felt genuinely dangerous. Read that again slowly. Your system isn't broken. It's doing exactly what it was built to do. It's still protecting a child who learned, a long time ago, that open doors let the cold air in. And here's the almost cruel elegance of it. It works so smoothly that you don't even feel it happen. You just notice that when someone finally gets close, something in you goes quiet, steps back, loses interest at the exact moment it was supposed to lean in. You've watched yourself do this and had no idea why. Now you know why. Think about your closest almost. There's usually at least one. Someone it could have been, on paper. And you can probably still feel the exact moment you pulled back, even if you couldn't have named it then. The night it got a little too real. The morning something in you found a perfectly reasonable exit. It always had good reasons. The reasons were never really the point. Because here is the quiet math your body has been running this whole time. Falling in love asks you to stay open through the exact stretch where you feel the most exposed. Days, sometimes weeks, of not knowing if it's mutual, of wanting something you can't control. For most people, that's just nerves, the ordinary ache of a crush. For a system trained on deactivation, that same stretch reads like a fire alarm. So it pulls the plug right there, almost every time, and quietly labels it not the right person. When honestly, it was never fully about them at all. And here's a twist the world never warns you about. This exact pattern often gets rewarded. The person who doesn't seem to need anyone looks strong from the outside. Independent, low maintenance, easy. People admire it. You might even be a little proud of it. What researchers sometimes call dismissive avoidance tends to dress itself up as pure self-sufficiency, which is exactly why it's so easy to mistake the lock for a personality trait. It felt like you. For a long time, it was actually just your armor. So sit with what all of that means for a second. You were never incapable of love. You were guarded. And there's a difference between those two. A difference that changes everything. An incapable person has no room at all. But you have a room. You felt it. In small moments, with certain people, you felt that door tremble a little on its hinges. That's not emptiness. That is a locked door with something real waiting behind it. And the lock is not a flaw in you. It was a solution. Somewhere back there, staying unopened was the smartest thing a young version of you could possibly do. Stay closed. Stay unhurt. Keep the warm light for yourself, in a place where nobody could reach in and switch it off. The trouble is that a lock installed at 7 doesn't know when the danger has passed. It just keeps doing its job into your 20s, your 30s, long after the house went quiet and safe. It never once stops to ask whether you still need it. It just holds. Does that not ring true? So let me say the thing you have maybe been waiting a long time to hear. There is nothing wrong with you. You are not broken. You are not cold, or behind, or somehow incapable of the thing everyone else seems to fall into so easily. You are someone whose heart was guarded early and guarded well, and guarded by a standard that refused to lie about what it actually felt. Those two things together kept the door shut for years, but they also quietly kept the room intact. Because here is what all the guarding never once touched. What's inside it? The capacity is still in there, untouched, unspent, waiting. You did not lose the ability to love. You have been saving it all this time, without ever knowing that's what you were doing. And that unopened room is not sealed shut. It's not empty. It's waiting for a moment safe enough, and a person real enough, that the lock finally has a reason to let go. Not a lock forced open. A lock that finally chooses to. There is a real difference, and you'll feel it when it comes. The people who fell in love at 16 are not ahead of you. They walked through a door they never once had to think about. You are going to walk through yours awake, on your own terms, knowing exactly what it cost to open it. And a room you enter like that, late and clear-eyed and fully yourself, is not a lesser room. It might just be the truest one there is. So I'll leave you with a question, and I really do want your answer. When was the first time you quietly wondered if something was wrong with you for never having felt this? Leave it in the comments, and tell me whether tonight reframed it even a little. Because the next time someone asks if you've ever been in love, you don't owe them the flinch. There's a room in you. The light is still on inside it. And the door was never broken. It was only ever waiting for you to be the one who opens it. Subscribe to keep decoding yourself, and I'll see you in the next.